This record right over here might be a little gimmicky. I think the artist behind it might be poking fun at maybe a series or whatnot, but honestly, this record's great. This record's great. There's some great music on this thing. You might be wondering who I'm talking about. You might be wondering, what the hell is this? You might be wondering, another review? But I just wanted to put this one out there because I listened to it in one sitting, and I've been listening to it over and over again, and I'm like, this record is damn good. This record is damn impressive. Let's first start with the person behind this record, DJ Sabrina, the Teenage DJ. Now, if you might know anything about television in the 90s, early 2000s, or just comics, you might notice that this artist's name sounds kind of familiar. Yes, this artist has dived into the mythos of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and a lot of her records, actually all of her records, are encompassed by this general theme. It's an odd and quirky idea that really gained notoriety with her debut record, Making Magic, which got a lot of popularity, a lot of attention in the underground, but then her subsequent records have just not gotten the same amount of praise or love. Witchcraft, the two albums in 2019, Spellbound and Enchanted, yes, people do enjoy them, but they just didn't see the mass appeal that her debut did. I also want to point out that this mass appeal wasn't something like mainstream. It was definitely completely underground in the house genre. I also want to point out that a lot of her records are not short at all. They are very dense, packed with a lot of house tunes. Her debut record is 2 hours long. 2 hours and some change. That's a lot for a debut album. And while each subsequent release didn't have the same amount of runtime, we are now getting this fifth record over here that's easily going over the 3-hour mark. Mixing new sounds and new styles from her old wheelhouse of Outsider House, you're now having French house, elements of Plunderphonics worked into this record as well. New disco, synth pop, dance pop, even future funk too. A lot of this record is a bunch of different sounds, different genres, different styles, kind of crashing into one another to create a beautiful array of amazing tracks. A lot of them have just this entrancing and euphoric vibe to them, almost as if you're hearing the opening of an album multiple times within each track. If that doesn't make any sense, listen to the first track of this record and then replace that track with any other track on this album, foregoing the conceptual theme of this record, and I say that very lightly. Foregoing that idea, you notice that a lot of these songs just have this captivating aura surrounding them. It's like they lock you in a rhythm, and you just kind of get locked into this rhythm and rhythm and rhythm, and you just kind of get over and over and over again, and you just, whoa, it's been 9 hours. I've been listening to this thing for 9 hours. How? I really know how. The drum beats are very simplistic for a house record, but they're very effective. The synthesizers and just the other things surrounding the rhythms on this record are so glossy, again, entrancing is another word I could use. Uplifting, euphoric, just over the top, very indulgent, layered to shit in a great way. Take into account the opening track, for example, which is a 7-minute song that kind of builds as it progresses. Also keep in mind that this isn't even the longest song on the record. This is half the time of the longest song on the album. And that's like a lot of these tracks as well. Sometimes they have a nice steady incline. Sometimes they kind of just go right into the track. I do have a few issues with this record though, and that's mainly within either some of the production of some of these tracks or maybe with the placing or tracking of this record. There are some interstitial moments on this album that just feel a little vague. They do play into the entire theme of the record, but for me personally, there's just not a lot of enjoyment out of these 1-minute cuts. There are a few, and most of them happen within the first half of the record, though there are some in the second half too. But for me personally, these small moments on this album kind of diminish the quality of the record just ever so slightly. This also leads me to the production of the record too, where sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, the production feels a little thin, like the bombacity of a track just could have been punctuated more given the production quality. And last but not least, I do want to point out that there are some tracks on this record that do feel overly long. And these aren't some of the longest songs on the record. These are some of like the 6-minute cuts. Cuts that feel like they don't really progress into anything, or that the rhythm and the sound that they have just isn't that enticing. Now, what are the positives of this album? Because I just wanted to get those out of the way. There are a lot. There are a lot of great songs on this album. Songs like Charmed, Love Foundation. A lot of the second half of this record where it incorporates sounds from, I believe, the TV show, that just incorporates it into some of these tracks with a little bit of an effect on them. Flips and samples of some older songs, one being the Colby Calais song. You know, the one song that was really popular in the 2000s? Yeah, that song, I think you know what song I'm talking about. If you don't, look up Colby Calais and you'll find exactly what I'm talking about. I also really enjoy the 1-2 punch of the final 2 tracks on this record, Charmed Life and End of an Era, really taking the biggest and boldest songs on this record, putting them at the end of the album, saying a farewell to what this record was. Another positive about Charmed is the fact that it is so lengthy. It is 3 hours total. So you have so much material to really sink your teeth into. And yes, while I do think if you can cut out maybe a chunk of this record, you could have almost a perfect album. What you have on display on this record is nothing but fun, pure pop, dance pop, synth pop, house pop euphoria with dense, almost energetic soundscapes that cascade through the entire project, that cascade in my ear and in my brain, and it makes me want to move. Sometimes psychedelic songs that feel otherworldly, sometimes entrancing and epic songs that feel larger than life. Songs that might put you in a very rhythmic mindset, just keep moving and moving and grooving and grooving. There are also a few songs on this album that incorporate vocals and lyrics too. Not some weird sampling and flipping that's just this person repeating a word or two or something. No, like actual thoughtful lyrics on this record. It doesn't happen often, but when they do, oh man, they actually really make a song even more interesting to listen to. And talking about the samples on this record, I think DJ Sabrina really takes samples and flips them in such a creative way. While not the most creative way to flip a sample, not the most unique way either, it's a way that is effective. There is such a spectacular vibe with this project that is absolutely unlike anything I've heard this year, if I haven't said that already. But seriously, like, I don't know how to convey the extreme upbeat vibe of this album in any other way other than euphoric, almost orchestral, larger than life, amazing soundscapes that feel absolutely breathtaking. It's almost like I'm in an ABBA musical. Again, there are some moments on this record that didn't wow me. I think the one track that I was kind of underwhelmed by was the track E, or A, or whatever it's called. It is the 28th track of this record. I think the sampling on this track is a little gimmicky. For me personally, it sticks out like a sore thumb, and I just can't get it out of my mind when I listen to the song. Again, some of the few interstitial moments on this record don't really suit my fancy either, but man, there are so many songs on here that I just don't really care. I can listen to this thing from front to back and just feel absolute bliss. Yeah, I mean, I'm just fairly impressed, highly impressed actually, with this project. I did not expect a lot out of it, given that it's a very recent album to drop. It came out, I think, a Friday ago, or maybe 2 Fridays ago. I can't remember exactly. You know, it wasn't really that noticed or recognized until people started to look for it, and when, you know, people of DJ Sabrina's fan base started to kind of spread the word. This album's been released. Go listen to it. That's when it popped on radio music, the charts, and everything. I'm like, okay, let me listen to it. Let me see. And then I got sucked into this 3-hour wormhole of absolutely blissful, smile-inducing, fun as hell house music that was just blown away. I'm just blown away. Yeah, this is fun. This is just fun. It's just a fun record. This record's fun. I don't care. It's fun. It's fun to listen to. It's fun to dance to. It's fun to just feel to. I'm giving this album an A. I mean, it's a solid A. I mean, there are some amazing, incredible, indulgent moments on this record. It's a very indulging record. A lot of material. So much material, really, you can sink your teeth into it. I am going to leave it off at that. I am curious to know what are your thoughts and opinions on this album down below. Let me know what albums you want me to review next, and that is it. Leave a like, comment, share, do whatever you want. Let me know how I can improve future videos down below. Remember, it's only my opinion because music is subjective.